She had spent years working quietly in the background, cleaning rooms, folding sheets, and making herself invisible in a world that rarely looked her in the eye. But on this day, in the heart of a luxury hotel, a single sentence in a language most guests didn't expect her to know would stop everyone in their tracks. And when a wealthy man heard it, the lobby fell into stunned silence. This wasn't just about language. It was about respect, dignity, and a truth that couldn't be ignored. What happened next would shatter assumptions and reveal something far deeper. Marcia had worked at the Grand Imperial Hotel for nearly a decade. Her mornings began before sunrise, quietly moving through the polished marble hallways, her cleaning cart squeaking faintly on the floor. Most guests never noticed. Her, except when they needed something. She was polite, reserved, and efficient, her brown skin and simple uniform blending into the background of the opulent setting. What many didn't know was that Marcia had a life beyond these walls. Born in Suriname, raised in the Netherlands, she spoke fluent Dutch alongside her native tongue. But in the hotel, no one ever asked about her story. They assumed, they judged. They put her in a box without even realizing it. That afternoon, the lobby was bustling. Businessmen on phones, tourists snapping photos, and a sharply dressed man waiting near the check-in desk. He was a millionaire guest, known for his bold opinions and unfiltered remarks. Marcia was cleaning a nearby table when she overheard a conversation in Dutch. The man spoke in quick, dismissive tones, his words laced with assumptions about her, confident she wouldn't understand. She kept her head down, polishing the table, but her heart began to race. This was not the first time she'd heard such comments. But this time felt different. The air in the lobby seemed to tighten, the chatter dimming as if something important was about to happen. The man continued speaking, unaware that his words were landing with precision in Marcia's mind. He spoke to another guest in Dutch, making crude remarks about her appearance, her likely background, and even speculating that people like her were lucky to have any job in a place like this. Each word was a sting. She had heard racism before, both subtle and sharp, but there was something about the casualness, the certainty, that made her hands tremble slightly as she wiped the glass table. She thought of the years she'd spent working double shifts, sending money to her family back home, building a quiet life in this city. She thought of the many times she'd been overlooked, her skills reduced to the motion of folding towels. And now, here was a man who had no idea she could understand every word. Marcia's mind raced. Should she ignore it? Keep her head down, as always? Or should she speak up? Not just for herself, but for every moment like this she'd silently endured? The man laughed in Dutch, tossing in a final insult about her not being smart enough to even notice he was talking about her. His friend smirked. Around them, the lobby went on as normal, phones buzzing, suitcases rolling, voices blending into the background hum. But inside Marcia, something shifted. She stood upright, her cleaning cloth in hand, her gaze fixed on the man. Her heart thudded in her chest, her breath shallow but steady. This was her moment. The air felt heavier now, the noise of the lobby dimming in her ears. Even the hotel manager standing across the room seemed to pause mid-step, sensing something about to unfold. And then Marcia took a slow, deliberate step toward the man. Without breaking eye contact, Marcia spoke, in flawless, confident Dutch. Her voice was steady but carried the weight of years unspoken. Every person within earshot seemed to stop mid-conversation. The man's face froze, his expression flickering between shock and disbelief. She repeated back his words to him. Each insult he had made, each assumption he had thrown out so carelessly. But now, hearing them in the same language, in the voice of the woman he had underestimated, they sounded far uglier. The millionaire's friend looked away, suddenly fascinated by the marble floor. A bellhop, frozen in place, stared in wide-eyed silence. The manager's jaw tightened, sensing both the tension and the power of the moment. Marcia didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. The strength was in her calmness, in the way she held her ground without apology. She reminded him, without a hint of hesitation, that she was not just the help. She was educated, she was multilingual, and she was. Fully aware of the smallness in his words. A hush fell over the lobby, the kind of hush that comes when the air is too thick to breathe. The man's confidence drained from his face, replaced by something that almost looked like shame. Almost. By the time Marcia stepped back, placing her cleaning cloth on the cart, the moment had already etched itself into the minds of everyone, watching. The man didn't speak again, not in Dutch, not in English. He avoided Marcia's eyes, mumbling something to his friend before walking out of the lobby. Conversation slowly resumed, but the atmosphere had shifted. People had witnessed something rare, not just a confrontation, but a quiet, undeniable reclaiming of dignity. The hotel manager approached Marcia later, his voice softer than usual. He didn't mention the incident directly, but there was a new respect in his tone. A few guests even nodded to her as they passed, as if they now saw her for the first time. Marcia returned to her work, but she carried herself differently. She knew that moment had been about more than calling out a man's ignorance. It was about breaking the invisible wall that so many like her faced every day. The wall built from assumptions, stereotypes, and quiet prejudice. Her story spread among the staff and eventually beyond the hotel. Some heard it as a tale of courage, others as a reminder of the danger in underestimating people. But for Marcia, it was simply a reminder that her voice mattered. That silence was not always the safest choice, and that sometimes the most powerful. Language is the truth spoken plainly. How many moments like this are happening every day? Unseen, unrecorded, unspoken? And how many more will it take before respect becomes the norm, not the exception?